Call to order the Chicago County Council regular meeting for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Second District Councilman Lenny Franciscan. Present. Third District Councilman Terrence Hill. Here. Fourth District Councilwoman Stacy Winfield. Fifth District Councilman Robert Garcia. Present. Sixth District Councilwoman Gilda Oren.
Here.
Councilwoman at Large Deborah Bolaños.
Here.
Councilman at Large Dwayne Ransford. Here. Councilman at Large Kenneth Monroe. Present. Council President Monica Gonzalez.
Here. For the record, please note that Councilwoman Winfield did call and state she was unable to come. We start the meeting with our public hearing. Our first one is ordinance 220040, East Chicago Sanitary District Ordinance for Appropriations and Tax Rates 2023. Is there anybody here to talk for or against this?
Hi, Council, Madam President, members of the council. I'm Jim Bennett, financial advisor of the city, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the sanitary budget. What I would say to you is this year, this budget has increased, but partly because we had some savings in the prior year. And this fund is basically used. Now we know it as the solids, that where all the garbage is picked up, and they are now tied to public works. Years past, every department had a number of employees that did, load or do that. We tried to consolidate that because a lot of people want to do that. So a few years ago, we made that into the public works department. When you do that and form that, then it has to be funded. Well, how we fund it is internally by having reimbursement in the general fund, reimbursement in parks, reimbursement in almost every fund that has any function of cleaning up or doing any work. And that is about, I think it's out of the $12 million budget, about 9.5 to 10 million of it is reimbursed public works. But they pay all the salaries for, say, you know, for solids, they pay all the salaries for all those areas. And that money is then pulled out of the solids budget and put into public works as a means for financing. And idea, general fund has some money in it, parks has money that they supply the reimbursement. And so basically that's what we turned this money into. It's the only taxing fund rate in the sanitary district. There is a bond, I think that's out there, but it's been there for years. And so with that, if there's any questions, I'd be trying to answer them. I do need to clarify a couple things. One, tonight is a public hearing, and so there can be no action taken on the budget tonight. Technically, you're supposed to have 10 days before the next public hearing. The adoption gives you that 10 days to review what the comments are, and then you would adopt in. We've scheduled this now because of the problem we had with the public hearing 2 weeks ago. We got that rescheduled by the state, and now the adoption will be on the 26th, I think, 28th. Yeah. So if there's any questions on the sanitary solid budget, I can try to answer them. And by the way, you can call me at any time if you don't. I think everybody has my number.
Councilman Garcia.
Yeah, this is a public hearing. If you could just mention, what's the advertised rate and what's the budget?
Sure.
There's no question and answer. Sure. This portion.
I'll be glad to. First of all, I need to explain that every time we advertise the budget, we advertise the assessed value lower and the rate higher to protect us, because once you advertise the rate, that is the rate. So if we would get as I'm going to explain in a minute, a $200 million loss because of money taken out of Cleveland, then we would not be able to get to that dollar amount that's authorized. So that lets us, by advertising a higher a higher rate and a lower AB, guarantees that we can get to the maximum levy if we need to for these budgets. The advertising rate for the sanitary special general is 93.9394. And I believe last year was quite a bit lower than that because of the AB. I think we're about 200 million under what it should be, just to protect us in the case of a loss. And we thought we had one, and I'll talk about that right now, is that last time I met with council, I explained that we thought we might have lost a couple $100 million to AB because of Cleveland. What they filed, which is a personal return, it was an error. I checked with the assessor and the auditor. They've not corrected that. So our AB is going to go up a little bit, but it'll be on the 1% side, not on the 3% side. So we would only get a 1% growth instead of the 3%. BP last year took out 300 million, but Cleveland added 100 million. So we netted losing 200 million last year. That's $6 million. That's the 3%. So it's $6 million. Now, not all that was lost in Chicago City. Almost half of it goes to the county and schools, library, area. But that's my problem is the states change these laws on how they can assess persons. They change it every year and they give them big breaks. We are not a community that has a lot of developable property. The property we are, we're trying to develop as quickly as we can. But to do that, you also have to do abatements. You have to do things to bring these people in and to create the jobs. And we're working diligently. We're working on 5 of them right now, but they're not here until we finalize them and bring them to go. So my fear is, just from this experience, is that in the near future, these big government, these big entities that are in the community are going to start reducing their ADs because they control it. We don't. And if that happens, that means our growth ratio is stopped. So as an example, last year, we brought in about $36 million tax collections and miscellaneous revenues that were available to us. This year, that's going to be closer to 34 million. The other problem we have as part of that is the, assess, or the,
Point of order, Mr. President.
okay, I'm sorry.
Can you stick to the sanitary district? instead of-
Yeah, I'll stop there. Yeah, because they, well, they partly blend together. I won't have to explain that. Go ahead.
Okay, does anybody have any comments for or against this? Okay. Public hearing closed. Our next one is ordinance 20041, East Chicago Civil City Ordinance for Appropriations and Tax Rates 2023. Mr. Bennett?
Submitted with that last information you provided. Does any of that go with this one here, so you won't repeat yourself?
Pardon?
It's two different
Different ones, so you're not gonna be repeating yourself at this point.
No, I'm gonna, this is, well, I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can, but I've got to get out, I've got to say what I need to say. The total budgets for, the general fund and the various funds included in that with police and fire pensions, the lease rental payment for the debt service and, park and recreation, as well as, redevelopment and transportation are the units that actually collect property taxes in East Chicago. The total budgets for those units is $81,622,479 that was advertised. This would show a adopted levy of $51,687,070, but by the time this gets done, that levy will be reduced. And that would give us the rate is advertised at 3.4453, and that's for all the eligible funds. The casino budget was, we're asking for $17 million. It normally is about 14 million, but because there were several projects we could not get through this year, part of them because of cost. When the cost estimates came back to us, they were just so high that we just felt that we had to wait until we got a better price. There's all this money, that's ARP money that's running around. I mean, Gary got over 80 million, Hammond got over 50 million, we got over 30 million. Well, that's all floating around here. Their projects have to be approved by the 24th. So everybody's scrambling, trying to get these projects, and they have to be completed, I think, by 26. So people can just pick and choose what jobs they want to do, and they can pick and choose what prices they want to charge. So we've just tried to take some control of that by saying it's just too high. We just can't do it. It just doesn't justify it at this point in time. We also have a lot of emergencies going on. One of them talk about a couple more minutes, but the casino revenues are available to do 17 million, and we have projects. And if you want, I'm going to have the city engineer give you the breakdown he thinks he's going to need. That's why they were here the other night. And I figured you can get that information you need because they've got it. I think his request is well over $15 or $18 million between gaming, general fund, local roads and street, MBH, all of this are being appropriated to be used for projects in 2020. The general fund budget request is 35.7 million, and I'm now rounding numbers a little bit. And that 35 million is about 750,000 higher than last year. But I will tell you, this year we took out $1 million for demolition of building departments, so we can't fund it. We put that in casino. We put the law department, asked for about $1 million a year for lawyers and litigation. We've moved almost all of that over to gaming because we can't fund it in the general fund anymore. There are surpluses and there's a little surplus in the gaming fund, but it's basically going to be obligated. I mean, Elder Street sewer project's not done, and that's not estimated to be between $9 and $11 million for what we ran into there. They cleaned most of it up, but there are places underneath the pipelines and stuff that we're going to have to go back with or protect. Local income tax, 5.5 million. That's the CIT fund. Then there's a lease payment budget at $1,786,000. that lease should be up in the next year, so I think again sometime in 24. Fire pension, 2.4 million, police pension, 3.6 million. Local roads and street is 600,000. That's about what we get a year, somewhat less than that. Motor vehicle, 2.5 million. Again, some of that didn't get spent last year. It's being appropriated for this year. And sometimes we do that on purpose so we can build up enough money to do a project. Park and recreation, 3.8 million. That's about what it's been pretty much annually. Cigarette tax, that's a human capital improvement. We get, let's say, $100,000 a year cigarette tax that can be used for purposes. We appropriate it, and a lot of times it just gets overlooked. But the money is there and it's appropriated, ready to spend for $126,314. The CEDA income tax is $5 million. There's LOIT, public safety, and there's CEDA. Basically, LOIT is CEDA, but it's set aside for purely for public safety. Redevelopment budget about $1.2 million. Tax or a budget adoption. It says 500,000. Really, it'll be about 400 because we are capped. So we're not even going to be able to get all this money. It's just we have to advertise for it. And so, and then transportation, about 2.2 million. Most of that is reimbursable money we get from the federal government. Then we have about 20 other funds. Most of those budgets are included in your documents. So it totals about 30,386,203. And some of these, most of these funds do not have tax rates that are raised by miscellaneous revenue of some form. And again, all that's in the documents if you want to read. I'll try and go through some highlights. I'll give you an example. This is the Department of Waterworks this is almost $800,000 worth of purchase order for emergencies we've had to do so far this year. That's not fun. Here's about $3 million they're asking for next year to do cleanup on broken water mains and leaks that they have to do. And that's all listed. And again, you should have a copy of it. If you don't, we'll provide it. Talked about assessment, talked about comparison to income. We are at a point where our income from the general fund is matching what our expenses are. Once you go over that threshold, you're starting to deficit finance. And that's what I'm warning against, folks, because that's the real danger. When I came here 15 years ago, you know what the debt structure was back then. There wasn't no money. We were shopping around trying to get enough money and borrow enough money to meet people payroll. With that, we did what we had to do to get us a balanced budget, and we've had a balanced budget every year. We're going to continue. This administration will continue to have a balanced budget. We're not going to overspend and get into deficit. Talk about that. Low. There was a document put out by somebody that talks about how much savings there are in public safety laws. I'll say the same thing I did earlier. We have budgeted every year, I think, as far as last 4 or 5 years, we budgeted 3.6 million of lower public safety funds to be used for public safety. That's all it can be used for. Now, we have 98 authorized police officers, and I think 76 prior. We have not been able to fill those positions. And when we haven't, then we're going to have a savings in those funds, but we have funded it. If you start using this kind of money to give raises that are every year, not just, bonuses, that's normally how we handle it, is that we do a calculation at the first quarter to show us how much money we think we're going to save by not having hired employees. And whatever that is, if it looks like we can do that calculation over 3 quarters or 4 quarters, we believe that there's enough money that we do bonuses. Bonuses are one-time expense. Once you put it in the salary ordinance, it's permanent. So what I'm telling you is if you continue on past of, raising these salaries all the time, you're gonna, eventually, you're not gonna be able to even fund 98 people. You're not gonna be able to fund 76 people. Because every time you do that, you're taking out of your availability for the future. So I'm just giving you what I believe needs to happen, and that is we need to be very careful. We've been great for the last few years. We went from 800 employees to 520. Now we're down below that, but we just can't hire people. We're having trouble hiring. But I will say that we've had 7 policemen, as I understand, that have now qualified to be put on the force through their testing program. Those 7 are going to be hired immediately as soon as you get them hired. They've got to go through some authority. They have 12 people that just passed the test for the police department. They've now got to go through their evaluations and stuff. But we could have 19 new employees on them by next year. Well, you're not gonna, if you can't fund it, you can't hire. We're gonna make sure that we're not gonna go over our proposed budgets. We funded 98 people in the past, and we haven't had manpower. We paid overtime so that we had manpower. And that will continue to be what we'll try to do. But if we can't fund it, we can't hire. The city, as a part of this deal, the city has paid for several years. There's a 6% withholding that the employee pays, police and fire pay into their retirement account. The city has paid 3% of that for a number of years. So that's another building cost. And there's no reason, we have not talked about ever taking that away. We haven't done that. But again, that's additional expense here. The police and fire budgets make up about 50% of the entire city budget. Let's see. The other thing that we've tried to do with this, we've tried to improve what's available to the police and fire departments that they need. We put in ShotSpotter. I think that's been a tremendous help. We put in license plate readers. I think we now 5 or 6. We put in 800 cameras. We work very closely with the police department every month with IT. And if they see somewhere where we need cameras, they get put in at their request.
I think we're getting a little, I understand what you're saying, and I know you're trying to go through everything.
But I just want to get over that we're trying to do the best we can. But we're right out, we're tightening up finances, folks, where we're going to be a struggle. I'm 77. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. I'm 76, going to be 77 pretty quick. I'm just telling you, folks, you got to be careful. If we don't, at some point in time, you're going to be rich in your hands trying to figure out how you're going to lay off people. You're not going to do that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have to say anything for or against ordinance 220041? Public hearing. Okay. Public hearing closed.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, we go on with the regular meeting now.
Minutes for public hearing and regular meeting, August 24th, year 2022.
So move, Madam President. Second.
Motion made by Councilman Garcia, second by Councilman Franciski. Roll call, please.
Franciski,
Yeah.
Hill,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Malano,
Yes.
Ratchford,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Communication from the mayor,
I have none.
communication from the department heads.
Accounts payable warrants. 1000522 CC. 100622 CC. 101222 CC. 101222 LA. And 101422 LA.
So move.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Franciski, second by Councilman Hill. Questions on the matter? Roll call, please.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange.
Yeah.
Malano,
Yes.
Transfer,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Payroll warrant biweekly 093022. Payroll warrant monthly 093022.
So move, Madam President.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Garcia, second by Councilman Hill. Any questions? Roll call please.
Franceschi.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Malano.
Yes.
Ratchford.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Are there any committee reports? Are there any board reports? Ordinance is on first reading.
Ordinance 22-0047. Salary ordinance for appointed officers and employees in the city of East Chicago.
So move, Madam President. Second reading, Madam President.
Motion made by Councilman Garcia, second by Councilwoman Orange. On first and second reading. Roll call please. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk.
What is, Mr. Bennett, any changes on this? In this ordinance?
I think there was an amendment or a change that was approved, has to do with the clerk's office, other than that, there won't be. Rob?
Good evening. Rob Johnson, HR Manager. There was a couple changes. We did increase the low range of the salaries to reflect $15 an hour. And then also the increase on the high range to reflect the 2% that we received in 2019 and the 3% that we received this year. Then, of course, the city clerk salaries.
One question, why from 2019, why is it getting now, why didn't you get it in 2019?
2019, I believe, I'm not sure exactly, there might have been an executive order that came out at the beginning of 2019 for that raise. I'm trying to think a couple years ago what happened. And then for the 2020, I'm not sure if that was included or not, to be honest with you. That's why we, I don't think it was included in the 2020 salary ordinance. And then last year, it was.
Anybody else have any questions? Roll call please.
Franceschi.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Malano.
Yes.
Ratchford.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Ordinance is on second reading.
First ordinance on second reading, ordinance 22-0040. Chicago sanitary ordinance, appropriation and tax rates 2023.
So move on second reading, Madam President. Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Ransford. Any questions? Councilwoman Orange.
Mr. Bennett said that nothing could be done on this without the public hearing.
Third and final will be next meeting.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
yeah,
Okay.
so the motion's fair at this point. It's just we can't pass it on third and final to the next meeting.
Are there any more questions? Roll call please.
Francisci.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Bolaños.
Yes.
Ratchford.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-0041. Chicago Civil City Ordinance for appropriation and tax rates 2023.
So move on second reading, Madam President.
Motion made by Councilman Hill, seconded by Councilman Garcia. Are there any questions? Councilman Garcia.
Yes. Heard you say a lot of things here, Mr. Bennett. It's not fair to this council. Some of the comments you made, there's a lot of wasteful spending that happens in this budget, you know, that goes on. But according to this ordinance, I'm gonna stick to it. On a casino, you got on the contractual service, $8.4 million. Can you line nine on that, for this council? Will you be able to line item?
I apologize, Councilman, for listening.
Would you be able to line item that $8.4 million in contractual service in casino?
The 81 million, you want me to put, you go through the details of all that?
No, just put in line item.
Put it in line item.
Yeah.
It's in line item. It's in series, just like it's supposed to be required by the statute. If you, again, we had all the department heads here, give you any of the detail you wanted about each department. I'll provide it to you, right?
Well, like I said, this is a contractual $8.4 million. Also, Louis, go. On page 17, we got, you got $275,000 in special events. Is that broken down? That line item also. For event. The special events,
Can you use your mic so I can hear you?
the special events, you got $275 million, $275,000.
That's
I
right.
got it broken down into events.
She can provide that for you, yes.
No, is it in the budget? Broken down to.
Councilman, I ask every department in the city, with mayor's permission, put support documents behind what they're gonna spend. So they supposedly have that, and they were available to answer those questions last. That's your special hearing. Finance committee hearing, they were all here. I was out of
I
town.
didn't see it in the budget. I didn't see it in the budget. That's fine. Well, let's go on. Last year, in redevelopment, you only, $625,000 is, in that account there. But you know what, I'm gonna email you all of these here, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Page 38. In redevelopment, there's $2.5 million in redevelopment. I need to know what's going on. Page 4. You know, there are $200,000. But I'll email you these.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett, did you hear he's gonna email the questions that he has specifically?
Like if you put them in writing, give it to me, I'll be glad to answer. Get these questions answered. I may not be able to answer, but I'll get the questions as best I can.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any more questions? Okay, roll call.
Franciski.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange.
Yeah.
Delano.
Yes.
Francisco.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yeah.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-0043 as amended, sponsor Councilman Robert Garcia. An ordinance fixing the salaries of police and fire personnel, city of East Chicago, Indiana, for the year 2023.
So move on second and third reading, Madam President.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe. Are there any questions? Councilwoman Orange.
Shouldn't we wait until we pass the budget before we do it on second and third? We should pass the budget first and then do
It
the
was
second.
a separate ordinance.
Yes, it does. It has to be do with council. It's money. It's still the money.
You got a choice to vote on that.
Anybody else have any more questions? Councilwoman Orange, you have another question?
I believe that in this ordinance, everybody should have got a 5% raise. You look across the county, every department, they're giving 5% raises. And some of these raises, you're getting 12 to 8%, some getting 7%, some getting 12%. And I believe that only certain council people was the ones that went together with these, especially with the firemen, to give them these 12%, 7% to 8% raises. It's unfair to give those type of raises and then you don't give, the city is not able to give those type of raises to the average worker. So I don't think that they should be getting that. I think 5% across the board is what it should have been.
Anybody, Council Garcia?
Well, you made a wrong comment again. There's plenty of meetings that, I know that committee had, from that committee, and then my committee as finance chair, we had meetings also. So there's plenty of meetings that was going on. I know cost of living has been strong, so tremendous. Last year was the biggest Social Security gave, which was 5%. This year, Social Security is talking about passing an 8.7% COLA raise. Veteran Administration is talking about raising the 9.3 to 11.4 COLA raise. Cost of living is going up, right? Nobody's got it in the city, regular employees, fire and police. But we had plenty of meetings. This was done transparent. Everybody was involved. We had the meetings, and it was out of nowhere. So I don't know where you come with these allegations. It was done in the dark. So.
Anybody else have any comments? Councilwoman Orange.
That is my opinion, just like you had about that. And like I said, I do believe this is all fixed and handed over, but that's my opinion. And all the meetings that you had, all this was already done, wasn't done. From what other people that did. So that's neither here nor there. You're going to attend to give it to them. But like I said, still, I don't think it's fair that you should, they should get more than the average worker. And as far as Social Security, I'm on Social Security. We haven't had a raise in quite some time, so if they give us a raise, we'll just be catching up.
Okay, that's comment.
Yeah, and that's my point. Okay, that's something that we gotta deserve. It hasn't been given all these years, and that's something that's deserved. Okay, we had the committee rules. All right, there was 3 proposals they proposed. Okay, for sit here and your opinion, everybody have opinions. Doesn't mean they're all right. So that's it.
Anybody else have any comments? Okay, I have one last comment. With this proposed salary ordinance, we are making our police and fire competitive with other cities. They're only getting a 5% raise because they're already making the salaries that they deserve. Ours are not. And to quote, the average salary that we're giving a raise, what is a certain percentage. Our police and fire are special skilled, they're more than average, and they deserve this. Roll call, please.
Francisco. Yes. Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange. Bolaño.
Yes.
Ratzinger.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes, motion passes.
Ordinance 22-0045, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland. Additional appropriations ordinance. for Department of Redevelopment.
So move second, third reading.
Second.
Hold, I have to make a correction. If I'm not mistaken, this needs to come before a public hearing before it will be heard on third. And there's not a public hearing, so if you wish to pass it, it has to be only on second. Is that correct?
I was just trying to think if we had a public hearing. on
There was
this
a
one.
public hearing on the last agenda, and it is not on this agenda.
Got it. Then
So it
yes,
can only be heard on second.
then
reading.
yes, Madam President, that's correct. So we need to get it on the agenda for public hearing at the next meeting.
So move second reading. Second.
Motion made by Councilman Hill, seconded by Councilman Franciski. Have questions, Councilman Garcia?
Frank, just one quick question. This is that old bill that we still owe.
Yes. It is the old bill that was still.
That's, that was my question.
Anybody have any more questions? Councilman Wood. Council, I'm sorry, Councilor Rivera, can you answer her question, please? Thank you.
It's still outstanding.
Yes, it's still outstanding. Yes, it's still outstanding.
Yes, it has it been paid by another fund or
No, we need to take out another one.
any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Franciski.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Bolaño.
Yes.
Ratzifer.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Ordinance is on third reading.
I have none.
Resolutions,
I have none.
old business. Councilwoman Orange.
Madam President, I'd like to bring up this table for the bill on it. Tell us what 220038.
Okay, can you announce what that ordinance is?
That was the one for the special event. That Matthew Adams sent everybody a copy of the breakdown, of how they were going to spend the money that was requested by Councilwoman Laws and, Councilwoman Winsfield, and she said a detail, of everything that they were going to do with the money. And so that's what that, okay, so 38 and 39 was basically spent on.
So-
broken down into two different.
So we're doing, you're making a motion to bring 220038 off the table?
I second.
I'm sorry. who said that? Seconded by Councilman Franciski. Roll call, please.
Franciski.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia. Orange.
Yes.
Bolaño.
No.
Ratzifer.
Yes.
Monroe.
No.
Gonzalez.
No. Motion failed.
Well, it's not agreement 220039, but I'm gonna bring the next one. You wrote it down.
You're
I
making,
like to break
Kind
down,
of order. She just can't make comments like that.
but you have the first thing.
Not gonna do the point order.
okay. Councilwoman Orange.
I'm bringing 220039.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilwoman Orange to bring ordinance 220039 off the table, seconded by Councilman Francis. Roll call.
Franciski.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Bolaño.
Yes.
Ratzifer.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion and, 220039, to pass on first and second reading.
Okay, Motion made by Councilwoman Orange, to pass ordinance 220039 on first and second reading. Seconded by Councilman Hill. Are there any questions on the matter? Councilwoman.
Natalie, can you come to this?
Good evening, Natalie Adams, East Chicago Marine and Lakefront.
So you sent everybody, and you did quite a bit of work on this ordinance that they asked you to do, you answered all the questions.
Yes,
So I'm not quite sure what we hear, why we're here on this one, but, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
no, unless anyone has questions. So this is the ordinance that would finish out the events for the year, including the senior Christmas party. The one that did not pass was the Christmas decoration.
Okay, are there any more questions or comments? No? Roll call then.
Franceschi.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Bolaño.
Yes.
Ratchford.
Yes.
Monroe. Yes. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you very
Motion
much.
passes. Is there any more old business? Councilman Garcia.
What was the last, one we just passed?
The one we passed on second and first and second reading was ordinance 220039, which included the senior party and partial special events. There's 0038 is specifically for Christmas decorations. 39. Councilwoman Orange.
Attorney Jones, we already had a public hearing on both.
That's what I was looking at. I want to say that it was on the agenda for a public hearing on the August 24th meeting.
It was,
But
but
we
since,
took it off
right.
because we weren't going to hear those ordinances. So we need an actual public hearing on that. for the
That's
next
correct.
meeting.
Because they were on for public hearing,
Yep.
they were tabled, so they didn't pass first reading, so they were on public hearing in error, so.
So we didn't actually hear them in a public hearing.
Right.
So our next meeting, they need to be added. Please.
Is there any more old business? New business?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman.
Yes, the residents, matter of fact, of the entire city along with their district. If you have an automobile out there with expired plates or no plate at all, they will be ticketing you. We'll give you the warning that you need to renew your plates, or you need to do what you need to do, because if not, they're going to be towing them. Or they try to get ready for our snow removal. Last year, we have a lot of cars out there with expired plates, you don't know it. So we don't want that to happen this winter. So if you know anybody that needs to renew their plates, you need to get it done. Or if they get told, there's nothing I can do to call them. My block, they call me after that it's happened. I had told them before that you need to take care of business in this place. So I applaud the East Chicago Police to do what you are doing with that. It could be a nuisance later on. Thank you.
Councilwoman Garcia.
Yeah, Madam President, I'd like to send a letter to the sanitary district. I know the state, told East Chicago to stop dumping in the, candidate, so I'd like to get an update on that. From our sanitary district, and trying to invite, the state to come and speak about that too.
Councilman Garcia, I know we got a final update this afternoon, but if you request to have somebody from sanitary, but there is an email that was sent.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Blind. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman.
Oh, he doesn't go to state, he come to sanitary. Oh, state to state.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask sanitary, I'm gonna ask the state.
Councilwoman Warren, did you have something else?
No, that's it.
Councilwoman Blind.
Yes.
On October fifth, and before that, I was, called by several residents on the area of Alder Street, complaining about their safety in that area. So the Alcohol Commission had a meeting on October fifth. I attended, and these residents went. So I just wanted to say that there are several businesses in the city that have issues that we should take care of. It's endangerment to the residents, the safety to the residents, and no one should feel unsafe going to a meeting and speaking. The residents that went with me, they felt intimidated, and I needed to bring that to the attention. I know we have someone here that was, not that went to that meeting, but, was at, with the problem that we took care of on 148th and Alcott. I just want to say that I didn't accept this position to sit on my hands. If a resident calls me and asks for help, I'm going to be there, no matter what. I think that's what our responsibility is. So that's all I have to say on that.
Councilwoman March?
I was just gonna say, I thought the email that you sent, Attorney Jones said that should be handled differently. I know.
This has nothing to do with the email. It has to do with the safety of the district. So if somebody came to you with, it's not only 148 in Alcott. I'm not sure Alder, and then there's one on Broadway that I know about. Okay. Councilman.
Yeah, on the 148 Walcott, some individual, that's part of our area we talked about before. But, some of those residents that were hanging out with all that unnecessariness, they have now moved. So it's a little different. I write about it all the time. And I haven't talked to Maria in a while, but she hasn't called me, so I think everything should be okay, but I'm not certain. We haven't talked to the police on that, because they're the ones who go out there and check things out. But, to my knowledge right now, I think everything is much, I can't say much better, but a little better than it was before. We still need some trees cut down in that area because of the light, and I think some of the trees are blocking the light, so I'll be getting with Ed, can we get some of those trees trimmed before winter time? But I think Debbie for passing out those, awareness signs, appreciate that.
Councilman Vincent.
Yes, I just wanted to address, I do know that at the county board meeting, it was said that intimidations were done to some of the residents, and obviously I believe that is unacceptable, and I believe those residents, if felt intimidated, should have immediately or should be encouraged to report that to the necessary authorities at the, obviously being at the county building with sheriffs and or EC police. Yeah, so I would definitely encourage you to advise them to do so. Thank you. That's it.
Is there any more new business? Yeah, I just have one thing. I have an announcement. National Hispanic Heritage Month is coming to an end, and tomorrow, I, myself, and Councilman Garcia, Councilman Bolaños, Councilwoman Monroe, City Clerk Medina, and some others, and Councilwoman Winfield have gathered in celebration, are going to gather in celebration with mariachis in the park at Edward Bell from 5 to 7. Everyone is invited. Please bring lawn chairs and blankets. It's going to be a little cold, but it's going to be the last hurrah for National Hispanic Heritage Month, which ends on the 15th. So you are all invited. Councilwoman Orange.
This probably should have been under the old, but I'm gonna mention it anyway, about when we do not have a form. And I wanted to put on record that I was never called that day when we had the meeting that was canceled. So I know you passed out a paper last time about what form means. But my understanding was that you're supposed to come here and call a meeting, somebody can call it, and then you don't have to put on doing close the meeting, so you can't do business because you don't have a form. but I was never called to ask if I could come to that meeting. And I don't know if any of the other ones that could have attended did. So I didn't get a call for that, and I don't know why, so I'm just making it, if we didn't call, we should all get a call.
Okay, anybody else have any, new business? Okay, we'll go to public expression. Maria Cruz. And when you come to the microphone, please state your name, your address, and you do have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Maria Cruz and I live at 4829 Oakland. I was here last maybe like in August about the program and all that. And now my life is much better than before. I want to say that we have to work together about this problem that we have here in Chicago, because I know it was not only me, it's a lot of people that have problems in areas and on the bars too, the liquors. And people, sometimes they don't want to speak because they're afraid about everything is going on. So I want to say thank you because my life is better than it was. But it's only me, it's not only me, it's a lot of people, and we have to live safety here. I think in Chicago, if we don't work together, in Chicago, every year is going to be worse. So, what I want to say that this is not only us. Okay?
Thank you.
I see you sit back there.
Next, we have Juan Loriano. Mr. Loriano, just state your address, please.
Yes, I am. My name is Juan Laureano Medina. I live at 412 Park Street, which is a subdivision of Marktown. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Almighty God for giving us the opportunity to be here and discuss city government. But I'm here. First of all, I'd like to commend Inspector Victor Rodriguez for his kindness and his compassion in regards to my property code violation. And I'm here to plead to Commissioner Portalatin and his actions to enforce a stay and desist order for me to finish a 3-foot adjacent splash guard, which I'm installing to protect my property from floodwater, vermin, and infestation. This property is adjacent to my property, 412 Park Street, which is 410. It was subsequently demolished recently in last October. The city has not complied with fixing the sidewalk. There's still 2 stumps sticking out. One is from a shed that was used in the old days for coal and then oil, and the steps to the property, which are still sticking out of the ground. So the city intends to sod the area and want me to remove the 3-foot protective barrier, a splash guard I'm installing in my property. And I'm here for someone to please take a look at this because it's unjust. The city will not take care of the cracked sidewalks and the stumps, but they're worried about me installing a mosaic protective walk against my property. I have photos to show, and so many things I've requested from the city in regards to trees that are dead in Marktown. Endemic trees that should not be growing in between hedges, 3 years gone. How many calls do I get? None. Nobody takes care of it. So I know we're Marktown, so everybody forgets about us. But we're still here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dave Mata.
Evening, Council. Dave Mata, President for the East Chicago Firefighters, Local 365. Just a couple comments. There's no secret that our fire department over the years have taken hits. Public safety in general has taken the biggest hit since 2010. You know, we've lost the most. We've lost personnel, we've lost positions, testable positions, staff, training office, rigs, stations. We've gone from 100 guys to 76. Obviously, it's no secret, the stuff that we've been going through the last couple of years, we've lost more guys because of bad schedule. So there's been a lot that public safety has taken hits over. There's been a lot of years where there's been no raises, understandable for some. But, you know, we've been patient. We've been promised that when things got better, we'd start getting benefits reinstated, start getting some raises, and start getting things back. And up until the last maybe 6 years or so, working with our council, those things didn't start coming back. So it is because of you guys and our council who've seen where we've gone and where we're going. And you guys have all stepped up, worked with us, listened to us. You know, we always bring information all the time we meet. There's always information. It's not just we want. There's a need for stuff. And I appreciate all you guys' time that you give us so that we can explain these things in detail, why we need them, why it's important. Because if you don't have an efficient fire department, you don't have a safe city. Period. If we're not safe, the city's not safe. So all we're trying to do is just make us better as a department, make us, like Council President said, make us comparable with other departments, more competitive with other departments. Everybody's surpassing us, and Hammond seems to be like the breadwinner right now. Everybody's going to Hammond, so let's take a page out of their book and find out what they're doing that's so right and what we're doing that's so wrong. And I think over the years, we've gotten a lot of that fixed. Salaries is a big part, getting benefits reinstated is a big part.
30 seconds.
And I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of myself and all of our members of our fire department. See a lot of them are here. We thank you guys for seeing that. And next phase is let's get these guys hired. You know, they can't say that we're not making good money no more. We got good benefits. Now we need to spread the word to get people back into East Chicago Fire Department so we can make us whole again. So I think you guys deserve a giant round of applause from everybody here for what you guys have done. So thank you, guys. Thank you. And by the way, one last thing, in January, when this gets approved, we will have gone from the last page of departments to 3rd in Northwest Indiana and 8th in the entire state. So thank you, guys.
Our last speaker is Angel Galarski.
Angel Galarski, 56 Allen Street, Hobart, Secretary of East Chicago Local 365. Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple of little data points here. I just want to say that on the fire department, we're 22 firefighters short right now. We have a hiring list. Currently, there's only 4 people on the hiring list. Our civil service just took a hiring examination. 40 people applied to take that test and only 20 passed. Okay, 20 passed the written. So you only have a list of 20 firefighters and they still have to go through some tests. They have to go through the physical agility, the backgrounds. So we're not even looking at being able to fulfill our shortage of 22 firefighters within the next year, because there's not even enough people on the current list to do that. There is a difference in our pension fund. There's the 77 Act, which is all of us, and that's employer and employee contributed to, and then the state manages that, and then the state is who goes ahead, and that's how you get your pension check. There's not a liability to the city besides just the contribution when that individual's working. But also in East Chicago, there's a 37 Act. Okay, and so that's what we call our legacy, our old pension fund. And there was a point in time where that fund there was a liability to the city. And so when those individuals received a raise, the city would have to fund that. There was a liability to that. So when the 1, 2, 3 tax caps came in 2008, the state took over that pension liability. My point is there's currently 63 pensioners in that 37 Act on the fire department. And I'm sure there's a lot of them on the PD too also. And the only way that those individuals get raises is if you increase the pension base for the master firefighter, the master patrol officer. So on behalf of those 63 pensioners and their widows who are living on fixed incomes and literally do not get raises unless you give a raise to current employees, thank you on behalf of all of those individuals. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Hill. Roll call, please.
Francis.
Yeah.
Hill.
Yes.
Garcia. Orange.
Yes.
Rolando. Exeter.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yep.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.